Welcome to the Perspective Podcast, where we embrace open dialogue from different perspectives about entrepreneurship, relationships, and education.
And this open dialogue is needed, especially today, as we live in a Twitter finger society where everyone seems to care more about getting their point across than they are about hearing the other person's perspective.
If you're ready to grow your business, your relationships, and your personal development, stick with us here at the Perspective Podcast, because sometimes in life, to get to the next level, you just need a different perspective.
If I look like what I've been through, I'd be roadkill. Tell me off of the pavement, I'm reeking from the...
All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Perspective Podcast. I'm Mouzon. Got T here with me. Say what's up, T.
What's going on, family?
Oh, man. We're excited. Back for another week. Again, thanks for all the listeners, everybody that's been following. Again, if you are listening right now, hit that thumbs up, subscribe on the YouTube channel. Make sure that you are tuning in every single week, because we are dropping a bunch of different pieces of content for you so you can continue to get this perspective. And again, we want to continue to hear from you. So this week, we got another special guest with us. Again, this is becoming like a common thing, huh, T? Like,
we other perspectives.
That's it, right? Like we know you guys are tired of hearing our perspective the whole time, especially now that T and I are agreeing on a lot more. It's good to hear other perspectives. So today we're gonna have a real good conversation with another one of my good buddies, Mr. Kobi Asare. He is in the health and wellness space, and we're gonna have a conversation around those things, health, wellness, right? The stuff that we all focus on to some degree, yet most of us don't really understand what we're focusing on, if that makes sense. Yeah. And that's kind of where T and I, we were having a bit of a conversation before this recording. And we were just saying, like, man, how much different crazy information is out there around your health, right? It's kind of like the same stuff that I would talk about with money. And just saying, like, man, there's tons of information and misinformation, opinions, all types of things. And when I was talking to T about it, he was like, yeah, same thing on the health side, to the point where sometimes it could get discouraging, right? Where you're like, I hear this, I think I want to go that way. Well, this doesn't work. Well, I tried this. And then all of a sudden you're just like, forget it. I'm just going to do what I'm doing, right? You know what I mean? And I know, because T and I are both going down our health journey, you know, we wanted to have somebody on that could give another perspective, or their perspective that's actually in the space. And that's why we have Mr. Kobi on. So Kobi, appreciate you jumping on, brother.
What's going on, family? It's a pleasure to be here, man. I see you guys, I see your clips, I see you dropping gems. And it's a pleasure to be here to talk about one of my favorite topics, health and wellness, because I think it really is the bedrock, the foundation that we can all build a life that we don't need a break from here, as we are here on this earth. And whatever your beliefs are after that, that's up to you.
I like that. I like it.
Absolutely. Well, I'm gonna lead in with the first kind of question, man, and let the audience get to know you a bit, man. Like, how did you kind of get into the space, Kobi? I mean, I know you've been doing it for some time on a personal side. Sure. Right. But just talk a little bit about how you got into the health and wellness space, because I think everyone's journey is a bit different, how they get there.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. So, you know, as relocating from or my movement from Ghana to the US, you know, I found athletics as really being a place where I could, I guess, fit in the quickest, if you will. Right. You know, so I may add a thick accent. Right. I had some outfits that people didn't understand.
African booty scratcher? African booty scratcher?
Come on, man. You know you can't say that no more.
Every time.
You about to get our dang podcast canceled, Chris. Yeah. Hey, we ain't even get to season 4 or whatever season we are now.
I'm just saying, that's in every child's vocabulary.
Oh my God.
It just was.
It's critical. This is critical that you bring this up, man. This is very critical because it's actually a huge part of my experience. And I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because, you know, like I said, moving and changing countries here, it's like, here was my situation. Everybody's situation is different, right? So I'm gonna speak to my situation. I got out here, you know, I looked like a lot of folks that were already here. right? So I looked out, I looked to the left, I was like, my brother, you're just like me. We're we family. and it was like, no, you're not one of us, and we don't know you like that, right? So and then I look to the other side and I see white folks, and they're being a lot more careful, but still, like, that's abundantly clear that we're not brothers and sisters like that. So I really had to find a lot of ways. As a result of that, a lot of things occurred in my life and kind of shaped my childhood in that way. So there was definitely a journey of identity, and I think really the health piece, and we can dive down the identity track quite a bit. I mean, there's a lot there that relates to health as well. But for me, I think what it really forced me to do is it got me down on this path of figuring out, where do I fit in? And one of those areas where I could really kind of like be myself was in health and wellness and in sports. So I really dove down that route for kind of myself. Now, after I went to Boston and went to college for a bit, I came back to Virginia and I was teaching. And that was when I really was very confused with life, right? So I was very like trying to figure out, am I going to law school? Like my parents have already, encouraged me to do. I've always kind of like laid down the path. And if so, who's going to pay for it, right? I was teaching, so the administration was like, hey, if you want to get your PhD and kind of be like, kind of like the token Black professor on it. This is my interpretation, by the way. This is not what they said, but this is what my mind interpreted, right? And even if you want to come back, making all these kids feel good, right? Mostly white kids feel good, that they have some relationship with somebody outside of themselves. So I did that for a bit, and in doing that, obviously I was teaching history, but I was also coaching strength and conditioning. And that's where really my journey with like actually being in a professional health and wellness really truly started. And I took some courses in college, etc. But I started to really see that, listen, when I look at these individuals who have the jobs that I'm supposed to have, the lawyers, the high, the administrators, the doctors, these stuff, there was something tremendous missing. There was a huge gap. And none of them were satisfied, right? It's as if they were all kind of like chasing like the next, until you get to a level where they almost kind of give up. They're resigned to life. So when I look at that and I saw that, I was like, well, then what's the difference between getting, working hard through life and finding something I enjoy, or putting $200,000, $300,000 of student loans around my neck to do what they're doing, right? So at that point, I still did a lot of corporate gigs. I still went in, but I still had this thought in my mind, and I thought I was going to go down just drop everything and be this mega real estate investor, right? Along that whole path, I realized that still this health thing was still there. It was still kind of like, I still see people who are extremely successful, but they were lacking this health thing tremendously, to the level where they were willing to now trade all of the wealth that they've built up just to have some relief in their body, just to have some alignment in their body, just to have some periods of no pain or periods of no stress. So I just thought there was something there. So that's kind of the longer version of how I got to where I am now.
That's huge, man. That's huge. And I think, just us getting a chance to understand because I think all of us at a certain period in time have health become important. Most times it's after someone gets sick, or you see someone get sick or something like that. But there's always, I think, that time where it's like, man, my health is really important. It's really something I got to pay attention to here. And, to hear you got it from an earlier stage. Like, I don't think in college, T and I don't think that was on our mind. I mean, we played sports. I mean, we played college basketball, but I don't know how much health, right, that side was on our mind until we got a bit older. So again, everyone's journey is a bit different. Go ahead, T, if you had something.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I have a different like trigger for me, right? Potential is really important for me, or potential, but then like actually experiencing it, right? Not just the potential of. And after so many years after college, right, being, in shape naturally because you're conditioning, and then they put us in the sweat box with no air conditioning and the sauna, you know what I mean? So like, if you didn't even want to lose weight, you was going to lose weight just sitting on the sideline. Like, I think Rudy lost some weight just sitting over there chilling, yelling at his coach, and shout out to Rudy. Right. But I just, after so many years of looking at myself in the mirror and being like, you're not living up to your potential. Like, how can you be going after business success, personal development, like you're having your mind in the right place, being a great father, but every time I look in the mirror, it shows no discipline. It shows, not like, what could my body be, right? Like, what could I really have in my body? And that was really the trigger for me to say, what could it be? Like, when I was in college and no expenses, hardly, nothing around me, I didn't max it out. Then right out of college, and I had one kid, I didn't max it out. Now life is saying, technically, oh, you don't have to anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it'll tell you to be comfortable, make your money, make your 6 figures, and just chill and be cool. But I said, nah, man, like, what could my body be? Like, where could I take it? And then, being able to go on and like, I actually like looking at like 50, 60-year-old guys who are like ripped up. And that like gets me pumped up, because I'm like, man, like, some of these cats didn't even start till they're in their 40s. And now look at, like, they look better than they probably did when they were in their 20s and 30s. And I'm like, but I can do that now at 36. Like, I don't have to wait to 50 to get an enlightening period and the kids leave the house, if you will, right? And so like, my journey started from like, what could it be? Right? Because I'm really big on maxing out everything. And every time I looked in the mirror, I was like, well, I'm not maxing my body out. You know what I mean? And so, like you said, everybody has different journeys. Like, my mom passed away of breast cancer. My aunt had strokes. I've had people that have been super addicted, but for whatever reason, like, that never really like that side of it really didn't like push me, but the potential pushed me. And I know it's weird. It sounds kind of crazy for different people, but I want to put that perspective out there, because seeing somebody sick might not really promote that for someone else, but the ability to say, what can I do? Like, how it's like David Goggins, like, what more can I pull out of this? And that really is what pushed me. And I mean, now, like, I know I put a lot of videos up, but I'm down 22 pounds or whatever it is. And I'm still going, but now I'm like ready to say, okay, but I still don't eat right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know I still don't eat well. Like, what else could it be? Like, am I like pushing the gas and the brake at the same time? So, but that's why I was happy about this podcast, just thinking about all those things. And I want to put that perspective out there, because there's different people that are looking at it from different angles, for sure.
That's huge. And I think you said something, right? Like, am I pressing the gas and the brake at the same time? I really feel like a lot of people are doing that. And I know Kobi can speak on that a bit more, because, right, he talks, and I know because we work together kind of down my health journey, and a lot of it is what you're consuming. He goes, right, I know he says, what are you consuming? And then how are you moving your body, right? And so a lot of people take care of the moving the body part. Oh, I hit the gym. Oh, I'm running. Oh, yeah. But what are you now consuming, right? So could we speak on that a little bit, man?
Yeah, man. T, I appreciate you sharing that perspective right there. I think it's pretty important to keep in mind and to really seek for what is it that initially sparks that fire, right? What is it that initially gets you going? And also recognizing that that's going to change over time, right? So as life changes, as you go from college to family man, life changes. Your connection with higher purpose changes, right? Your connection with people around you changes. Your connection with yourself changes. And I think a lot of things, a couple other things also change. And one of them is kind of like the expectation of you, right? So you as an individual, as we get older, as long as we're able to kind of check certain boxes, we're almost allowed, right? That we're excused, right, for letting our bodies go. Okay, so you hit a certain milestone, right? You're middle age, you're 30. Oh, that person is working hard to build a career, working hard to make money, working hard to take care of their family, working hard to study, working hard to do whatever. And it's as if we hold those things.
Dad bod, right?
Dad bod is okay.
Bod, right?
And you know the worst part about it? There's women that actually are approving of this dad bod. And you know what? We do everything for half the time anyway. Let's just go throw that out there.
Excusing us. Nah, I think that's critical. And I think part of it is, first and foremost, just education.
Yeah.
All right. Redoing our education. And also, too, I think it's surrounding ourselves, our environment, right? So surrounding ourselves with not a whole, but it's great, right? You go on Wall Street, you go in these communities of people that are supposedly successful, extremely successful, and you see a whole group of them and they're all overweight because they're all living a particular lifestyle because there's a set of unspoken agreements in that group, right? In that environment. And I think it's incredibly important to know these things. And Chris, you teed me up with the consumption piece. I really break, a lot of trainers would break things down into, diet and exercise. For me personally, I think we can expand that a little bit. And when we do, we can make greater connections to our life and why this is so important beyond just physical transformation, right? And what I expand diet and exercise to is, what are you consuming? And then what are you doing? See, because what we consume really is kind of 80% of the battle, as in like it really dictates a lot of things. And we have to expand that understanding of consumption from just what matter we actually could put in our mouth and digest for energy, to things like what is the type of energy, what is the type of education that you're consuming, your mental state, right? Do you believe that if you are using your mind and producing in terms of career and family, thus that's somehow superior to connecting to your body and making sure that your body is functioning at a state that's allowing you to maximize your full potential? Or do we just throw that to the wind, right? That's part of education. Understanding that our maximizing what we can do in terms on the spiritual level, on the mental level, on the communication relationship, on all other aspects of our life is in some way, shape, or form dictated by what we do in terms of taking care of our temple. It allows us to have the energy to go ahead and do the things that we want to do, the traveling that we want to do, the family things that we want to do, all the business things that we want to set up. See, we've seen individuals be successful without, right? What seems like it seems like they've totally ignored the temple and they've been quote unquote successful. But I would ask us to really look at what is our definition of success at that point.
Yeah.
And what are we really like? What are we contemplating here? What does that look like? I think that's all part of the education and the consumption piece, right?
That's huge. I think that success piece is a great place because I know we've talked about it before, right? Like just as far as like, what is your definition of success? Like, how do you look at success? And a lot of times health doesn't fall on that, like on that list. It's all material. It's all money. It's all, right? The things that we have, that's how we start to view it. And it's that kind of shift in that frame of reference, right? Getting that new paradigm to be like, no, success to me is like being able to live a long, healthy lifestyle with my family, seeing my grandkids, right? Like if that's success, being able to experience life, right? Those things start to become how you look at success. And then you start to put your priorities in order,
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%, man. I mean, it's like, I think it's important, like you said, we have to define success. And one of the things that for me was like, I want to do what I want to do. Like, we talk about this all the time, right? Do what I want to do. And I want to earn good money doing what I enjoy doing, right? And I want to live, like I tell my wife all the time, I said, my goal is to live like we're on vacation every day, right? And what I mean by that is not necessarily that I don't go into an office, I don't have responsibility, but when you're on vacation, you're kind of like, hey, what you want to do? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what do I want to do today? And I do think that for me, and I know a lot of people out there, whether they want to say it or not, like you want to look good doing it, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like you want to look good, you want to present well. Like, let's just keep it real. Like people that look good to society get more opportunities. right? There's been so many studies, even in corporate America, people that look good get paid more, right? Like for nothing else, and people like them for X reason. And I know we don't want to be superficial about it, but at the end of the day, like you have to deal with the elephant in the room, which is we want to look good. We want to be healthy. We want these things in life. And like you said, you got to define like what's most important for you. Otherwise, you don't even know where you're going. But one of the things I want to make that point, but here goes what Chris started off with, which was my kryptonite, which was too much information or like not the right information. And I know we said we start with knowledge. So what would be the path of where someone would start, right? Like particularly on the true health, like we can get out there and get to the gym and stuff like that. Like that's what I did. I did the David Goggins, do something that sucked every day for the last month and a half, and I lost 22 pounds, right? Like that was easy. Just get moving, work out 5 times, suck my life, hate my life for 5 days a week, and I can lose some weight. But now people get to a different point, right? Because you hit those plateaus. But when I open Google and when I start looking, I'm like, do I do this diet? Do I do this? Do I do not carbs? Don't like carbs? Do I go vegan? It's so many things out there. It's like, what do I do? Like, what would you say to that?
I think that's a great question. And that right there is the money ball. That's the money question right there. But before I comment on the confusion, right, in terms of true information out there, I do want to piggyback on what you're saying in terms of looking good. I think it's incredibly important as human beings for us to look good, but not for the reasons that in modern society that we've kind of conjured up to be, right? Yeah. So it used to be that we understood that there's a set of natural law. There's God's law. And when that law is followed, there's certain things that come. And when that law is broken, there's certain consequences that come, right? We're not freed of that when it comes to consumption and what we do with our time, right? For every action, there's a what? Reaction. Equal and opposite reaction, right? Yeah. So all of these natural laws hold true. And when you see somebody that looks good, the biological wiring there is that, oh, they are abiding to natural law. That's why they are appealing. Okay. So, but what we've done now is that we are like, God, you're not so good at what you do. Let's try to replace you. Right. So we get in between and we try to cheat the law of nature. Right. So that we get the looking good part without having followed the law of nature. Okay, so I think that's incredibly important and leads me to answer your second question. To the best of my ability, of course, I always reserve the right to grow. And
you've been on the podcast before. You say that all the time.
All the time.
Yes, sir.
I reserve the right to change my opinion.
Absolutely.
Time out, sidebar. I'm gonna let you get back. Hey, we got to go back to.
You gonna let me finish?
I'm gonna let you finish. I'm gonna let you finish. For real, but we got to go back to eventually. We got to go back to college athletes getting paid.
Oh, we don't.
I know.
Gosh.
That was like episode, I don't know, 7.
3? No, that was like 3, 4.
It was early, and I had a stance. I said they shouldn't, and look at where we're at now. So anyway, that's a sidebar. Maybe.
Oh, they shouldn't. They shouldn't get paid this way. Something else.
We might have to have you back on. We might have to have.
They shouldn't get paid this way because I think this structure actually does more harm than good. But anyway, that's.
Oh my God! I have so many things to say, but keep it going. No, I want you to answer the other question because Chris tried to totally derail this podcast on health and start talking about college sports. Please continue.
Terell Reeves,
my co-host.
Terell Reeves. And I think it's incredibly, to go back to the idea of natural law and to answer the question about, well, where do you start? When you go on Google, there's so many confusing things. Where do you start? I think, truthfully, I don't think you can start from a bad place, right? I don't think you can start from a place where it's like, you messed up. Should have started somewhere else. God, dong it, right? So I don't think you can really mess up like that. As long as I think the thing to truly actually pay attention to is kind of more so the how, first and foremost. So what am I eating can be a little confusing, and we'll break that down here in a minute. What am I eating? But the how am I eating it is actually a lot simpler, right? How are you eating? You're eating it mindfully. You're eating it thankfully. You're eating it with thankfulness in your heart. You're eating it with being present, not jumping to the next thing. Oh, I got a meeting in 5 minutes, so I need to scarf down this bacon and toast real quick and get going, right? You're eating it, you're chewing your food because you're present, okay? You prayed over your food because you're present. You're sharing with loved ones around you because you're present to it, right? All of these things, believe it or not, do have chemical effects, okay? So how you approach your food does impact, right, the level of nutrients that you can derive from the food and the efficacy with which your body processes the food. Like that matters, okay? So, you know, a lot of what I do is really kind of comes down to kind of breaking, it comes down to talk, to conversation, actually, more than it comes down to like me in the gym with you, taking you through squats and deadlifts and whatnot. Because guess what? I did that for years, and it can make a short-term difference, medium, long-term difference, but truthfully, it doesn't change life to the point where it affects everything else in your life, which is really the goal. I believe that this is actually just a portal. It's just a one way to kind of the same flow state, to the same access to creator, to the same access to self, to a training ground to develop, right? So I really think, you know, in kind of how you do one thing is how you do everything. In this arena, you have the ability to train yourself and to develop yourself in such a way that you can take it to other areas of your life. And if you don't approach that with a certain level of intention, with a certain level of mindfulness, if you don't pay attention to the how you're doing it and you just want the what, right? The pumping, the eating, the whatever to get to the point, you're not going to maintain it because you never actually developed those skills, right? You just won the lottery. You never actually developed, you never went through the process of development to learn how to take care of your money, to learn how to take care of your health, so that when you lose it again, you don't know how to make it back. When you gain that weight again, you don't know how to lose it again because the first time you did it was a fraud because you cheated on that test, right? When those came, when that information came back, you didn't actually learn the information. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
that
that's really
sense.
where we are. And I think that's really helps distinguish where do you start? Because when you start from kind of that space, you are the source.
Yeah.
Right. My whole thing is teaching people how to get out of their way so they can listen to their body. Right. Don't call me every single time. You need to know whether or not I need to eat this extra muffin. Right. Because you can listen to your body. We've rewired, we've reset, rewired, and put you on a system in which your body tells you, hey, you're messing up. Because what we've done is we've cut that wire with the help of pharmaceuticals, with the help of doctors who love to do what? With the help of the food industry, right? With the help of restaurant, with the help of so many culprits, we've learned to cut that wire, that sixth sense that tells us everything we actually do need to know. So now it's a lot easier for marketers, for companies, for all these different individuals to get through these channels, right? TV, social, whatever it is, and actually just tell us and program, right? Tell, right? And let's not miss the obvious here, television, and program us to a particular set of beliefs. And you ask why? It's not for our health. Really, it's for
profit.
The money.
Yeah, it's for profit. 100%, right? You know, it's interesting. That's very interesting. You said a lot, and I have a lot of thoughts going on, but particularly how we eat our food. I don't think I've ever really, maybe one time before, but it's very vague, of the process of being present to eat, and it releases like a chemical reaction, if you will, that allows you to process nutrients better. And I think about like times now, I'm like really thinking times where I sat down, I ate, I was enjoying my food, I was chewing, right? Like chewing, and I was enjoying everybody's company. I felt like good after I've eaten compared to, hey, I got a meeting at 1:30. The last meeting ended at 12:55. So I need to hurry up and jam this food down and then rush off to this next meeting. I felt like bloated, regardless of what I ate, whether it was a nice salad or a burger, it didn't really matter. And I think that's a really, really, I don't think I've heard that before. How would someone become more present in a world that's so fast, right? Like when it comes down to eating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Real quick before you answer that, Kobi, because I want to get practical, because like I said, you and I have been working together for a little bit. And that was one of the first things that we had, not one of the first things, but in the early time, we had a conversation about it, because after going on and we might touch on it right now, but something called a solid food vacation. I was just doing a juice feast, right? I was going through that process. And then right on the back end, on the tail end of that, when I kind of stopped, I remember us having a conversation about me sitting down to want to have dinner with my family, right? Because it was like, when one person in the household stops eating, right? Kind of, and it kind of takes away some of that, hey, are you going to have dinner with us tonight? Are you going to sit down at the table? And I remember us having a conversation where you were like, now when you sit down, like, it doesn't matter what's on the plate, but when you sit down, you know what you're doing it for. You're doing it because your family needs you to be there, not because you're hungry and you want to eat something and it's good food. Like, you're doing it for a different reason. And that was like the big light bulb that had came out of that situation, where I was like, yeah, like, I do understand that now. It didn't matter that it was chicken and rice and this on the plate. It mattered that I was sitting down with my family and I was enjoying something that I didn't get a chance to, enjoy before, but that was now the frame of reference. So, 1,000%, like that's the process. And I'm glad we're touching on it. That's because that's something, like I said, that a perspective that people don't often get when it comes to this, that like, and I remember you even taking it all the way back, and you might do it now, right? Like, just as far as like when we first, like, back in the day when people would have to eat with family and you would sit down and you would, feed people by hand, or it would be about community. It would be about the fellowship of eating around a meal, not specifically about, right, the carbs, the calories, the this, the that. It was about something different. And I think that's what allowed people, right, to have better digestion and all those types of things. So, I just want to give some practical nature to that, because it really does help. But jump in, answer that.
Yeah, man, so much to uncover here. We're gonna have to do a part 2 of this for sure. But I think you guys are you're hitting on just critical things. So let me go. I always like to go back up to top down, right? Because it allows, that's kind of how I think. And we look at, I want to just a few dots I'm going to plant and then I'll connect them. Oh man, this grandma, the way she makes food, she makes it with love. What is love? Okay. All right, cool. Man, this thing we in Ghanaian, we have this thing, chop bar. You go and you have something to chop, right? Something quick to eat, you go there. And they say, man, it tastes better because they get just a little bit of sweat in there. You know what I'm saying? Just a little drop in there. It makes it taste better. It's kind of like a joke, Or my point that I'm making is that the how matters a lot more than we see, right? And because we don't see it as much, we don't really regard it out of sight, out of mind. That's how we function as human beings. The how matters. So the how of so let me toss out one more thing here. It's like a lot of people, wait, so you don't eat any meat, so they get really caught up in that like, what, you don't eat any meat? First of all, when people do that, they're addicts, right? I want to point that out. Whenever people do that, they're addicts. So just think about how many addicts including ourselves, probably, right? Major
with
addicts.
Eating meat, like somebody freaks out that you didn't eat meat.
When people freak out about anything like that, right? So when you tell them anything regarding food, what, man, I can't do that. I need my That's an addict. That's an addict short-circuiting. Literally short-circuiting in front of you, right? I always find that funny because I'm like, I pray for him. Be relieved, brother. Goodness. He acting like if you take this meal from me right now, I will combust. I will blow up. It's like it's not that serious. It's not
Black
serious.
people. I stopped eating pork years ago, and when people I say they're like, did you go to Muslim? I was like, no, I just stopped eating pork. And they're like, oh my God, I could never give up my ribs, never give up my pork chop, never, no, never. I was like, you don't eat bacon? I said, no, I don't eat pork bacon no more, man. Like, but it's funny you say that. I can recall a couple people right now that literally put their foot down that they wouldn't do it. I was like, I didn't ask you to do it. I said, I don't eat it anymore.
Yep. Think about that reaction. Think about how severe it is. No, I'm not doing that. I'm like, whoa, calm down. You can do whatever you want to do. It's okay. It's all right. So I think we laugh, but wherever we laugh in society, we got to take another look because there's something uncomfortable there, right? There's something uncomfortable for us to discuss. And I'm always, I hate to be the guy to bring this type of news, but I don't though, because what I'm bringing is news of hope, is that there's actually a way for us to undo this wiring, right? Yeah. There's a way for us to be the ones that decide rather than it being decided for us, because that's what's happening. A lot of this stuff we think we're choosing, especially as it relates to food, as it relates to consumption. We think we're choosing it, but we've actually been tricked a long time ago into thinking that we like it, right? So I want to come back to this idea of the why, the how being so critical. I really also want to put another dot on the map there as to really think about this. Some point in your science education, although a lot of it was it was what it was, but at some point in there, you were told that all things are connected. This idea of all things being connected, this idea of all energy being kind of like, this is what it is. It's neither created nor destroyed. It's just transferred. It all comes back to this idea of things being connected, of everything being connected, everything touching everything, of all matter being actually literally joined together. If we can go pretty deep into this, but if we start to dive into the work of Einstein and even far, far, far before him, this is what he was talking about, right? Part of that is that all things are made of the same sort of matter, the same sort of thinking matter, however you want to call it, right? Black matter, whatever you want to call it, everything is made of that. So it stands to reason that just like you toss a pebble in an ocean and it continues to go, because we can see it, we see, that's what's happening. But in real life, when we look at, or in other aspects of life, when we look at other factors of matter acting on matter, we don't recognize it because we don't see it, right? I say all that to say that how we approach, as the deeper I go into a lot of this topic, the more I believe that how we approach these things is actually a lot more important than the what, right? Meaning that I'm not saying that you can go out there and eat whatever it is that you want to eat, et cetera, et cetera. But the thing is that in and of itself doesn't mean that you're going to like die right away.
Correct.
Right. What if we know that, hey, this is what I have available based on my context. I'm in the desert. I just found this. This is what I have available. We can configure our mind, our context, our prayers, or sense of being, our matter to such a point that we can even eat something that's not good for us and it not kill us. Right? So the how and how we approach this stuff is so much more important than we think it is. That I just really want to highlight that, because we get caught in the what's, right? But the what is important, and one what that I would speak to and really offer anybody that's listening to this is, if you don't know where to start, I would suggest starting with cleaning the gut. Okay. Why I would start there is because the father of Western medicine and we don't know who created Eastern medicine, right? We don't know any of that, but stands to conclude that it's kind of coming from a similar school of thought. But he states that all disease originates from the gut. Well, might have something there. There might be some sort of truth there if we consider him to still be the father of Western medicine. There might be a little bit of truth there. I believe that if we can clean the gut, what we're actually doing is allowing ourselves to become, taking the first steps towards becoming our own doctor, our own expert, our own I know what's best for my body, because you're not in my body. I can communicate to you what I think is happening in my body, but you are not for me, a 30-year-old student of my body.
Yeah.
Right. So the more I can clear this stuff up, the better. And actually, I don't believe that we were made, or society, or we were created to have like one individual who is like the specialist in this one thing. Because I believe that if we take responsibility in the front end for our individual selves, right, and we do the things that are incredibly simple to do, like getting enough sunshine, getting enough good water, getting enough good movement, getting enough good love community around us, slowing down so we can actually enjoy the things that we've created and put around us and people that we've put around us, we actually don't even get to these acute stages of dis-ease, because we catch that dis-ease way earlier, and we utilize inexpensive, efficient means to stop those things from even occurring way before we get to this acute stage.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I remember when, I was looking in information, and I forget the doctor's name, but they started talking about the gut being like the second brain, right, in your body, right? Like, okay, perfect. I remember that correctly. And how if like you can be doing all this other stuff, but if your gut's not right, then you can not be absorbing nutrients even when you are eating correctly, right?
Absolutely.
You can have a lot of things blocking. You can have disease present, stress, and all these different things. And that's the one area you don't really hear people talk about the most. Even when it comes to the what, you don't hear people talk about the gut. Not trying to rhyme, but like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't hear that a lot, right? Like, you don't hear that a lot, and it makes me really think about profit, right? And like, why would I actually give you the right what, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if I can control the narrative, the media through television, right? And through social, and I can build the algorithms to put the right things in front of you, like, why actually allow the right information to get out there? Like, why would I?
Come on, man. I thought we were keeping it light. I thought we were here just,
you on the Perspective podcast. You on the Perspective, usually I'm gonna go there, like, because that's just the way my brain thinks,
Shout out Perspective podcast, man. I appreciate that. What you are hitting on is the $1 billion question, right? And that's what, honestly, probably the thought process that led me going down this path even more. Because I hate being lied to. 2, I hate things being made difficult when they don't have to be, right? So I have to continue to spend time and energy trying to figure this thing out when it's actually right in front of us, right? It couldn't be presented quite easily. There was an article, I believe it was in Wall Street Journal or New York Times, one of the two, not I think earlier last year, as this thing was breaking down, that asked a very critical question, right? Is healing people a sustainable business model? Okay, it's healing them.
No, it's
sustainable
not.
Business model. No, it's not. And that's the thing. We understand that intuitively right off the bat. Most people would say, no, it's probably not. Right? If the system was to operate in a way that led to us designing a lifestyle that heals us, that keeps us healed and feeling good and operating and vibrating at a high frequency, well, we would have to redesign the system.
Yeah.
And I think with that, we have to go then start looking at, well, how was this designed in the first place? And not to dwell on the negative of like, oh man, it's all doom and gloom. but to recognize the game that we're playing and how fabricated it really is. And then I think once you have that understanding, and you have the understanding of like, we're not morons like they want us to believe. We're not idiots. We're not just undisciplined, slothful, whatever. We have been slowly led that way, right? We have been slowly led to believe that certain things are okay and that's how society should be, well, etc. But I want to, remind individuals of a lot of things that they already know. I'm not really here. There's nothing new under the sun. I'm not really here bringing like, this may be new to you if you're hearing this for the first time, but I assure you that this is knowledge that has been known, right? Knowledge that has like been around for forever. But I just want to drop this here that like if what I'm saying is true, that means that we can all actually take charge of our own health. And by doing so, we unlock pretty much all other doors, right?
Yeah.
Because because it's not just health. That's to understand. It's not just like I look good, like aesthetically, because that is something that's programmed as well, right?
Yeah.
Looking good is programmed as well. I feel good. Okay, cool. But as a result, I'm operating. Right? I'm operating at my highest level. I think that is where I'm hoping to catch a lot of people's attention. Because not all people want to look good or look good in a particular way. And quite frankly, apparently not all people want to feel great either, apparently. Some people are okay feeling really good for a short period of time and sacrificing the rest of the time to feel like okay or terrible, right? But maybe where I can catch people's attention is like, well, what if you can produce? What if you can function? What if you can do your thing in life at this ridiculously high level, right? Because at the end of the day, is that not what we're here to do? Is to experience life.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, man, that's like hitting on so many things, right? Like so many people probably going to listen to this podcast. They see the headline, they're going to be like, oh, it's going to be another what podcast. So you're going to have some expert on telling us what to do. But no, this is really about, like you said, living at your highest potential. And you can't live at your highest potential if your body's not right, if your temple is not in order. Like, I mean, like I used to deal with foggy brain a lot, where like I used to have to really focus, like, to focus in on something. And I realized I wasn't drinking enough water, getting enough sleep. Right. And I was never outside. I never got no sun. Like, I started doing those three things and it's like, I'm clear, like I'm clearer. And you realize these simple things. Like, so that was for me, like, I like to keep things very simple, right? I think life is complex by design, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. Right. I always go back to the garden, like, Bible believing guy, like they were in a garden, no clothes. Life was pretty simple, right? To a certain degree. And I think that we can get back to that simplicity. And so with that being said, like, if you can like give like a couple, like super simple, like, hey, you can start today, and you kind of already alluded to it, but I want you to touch on it again, like, put these things in your life, right? Like not a perfect checklist, but like these things can make a big difference if you just make these small adjustments, and we can build from there at that point in time.
Sure. I think that's a great question. I would say there's 7 primal needs, right? There's 7 primal needs, and you can actually just Google this up. Just go up and look 7 primal needs and look it up. But starts out with breath, water, right? Nutrition, sleep, actually, and then we get to nutrition, right? But we can actually stop at those top 4 right there before we get to the other 3, right? And say, start there, right? Take an audit of your life. You in yourself actually do have the manual. I used to say that we're not born with manuals, but I actually now think we are. But we are so distant from being able to listen to ourselves and from being able to plug. And when I say ourselves, I mean ourself as connected to our source.
Yes.
Right? Ourselves as connected to our source. So you know, start there. The number one thing for me, I always say actually is starting with cleaning the gut. Okay, that I didn't necessarily just start there because I do think that you get best results if you do work with somebody who's already done this and who knows kind of what they're doing to lead you through, because there are some surprises along the way that if you haven't taken time to really look and understand that, oh, actually, no, this is you feeling hungry for a couple of hours isn't actually going to kill you. Like the fact that you're continuously stuffing yourself is probably what's going to kill you. But that's jarring at first when you're on a solid food vacation juice feast and you feel like, oh gosh, the world is coming to an end. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Right. But so I would say that's step number one: clean the gut. All right. Hippocrates said it, and so many others after him have said it. Right. I could name probably 10 right off the bat of individuals, doctors, healers who have said this very same thing. So let's listen to them and test it. All right. So first and foremost, if you can't clean the gut, you can do it with fruits. You can do it with juices. You can do it with water. I believe the best way to do it is a solid food vacation juice feast. I do actually have a course on this. I do actually have a program on this to lead people through day by day, to guide them, tell them what exactly they need to do, what they need to buy, what they need to consume, what juices they need to drink, how often they need to drink them, etc.
How long is that
course?
This is set up to
be 10 days right now, to give people a nice introduction into it. You can expand it. You can take that 10 and actually make it 7. Right? Or you can make it, I like 30. I think right around 30 is where you really start to hit the stride. And so, it's right now it's set up to be 10 days, 3 days that slowly gets you into the actual fast. So slowly takes you down, eliminate what essentially you might recognize as the elimination diet, but that's not exactly what it is. But you're slowly releasing things. You're not just jumping into cold water. You're slowly releasing things. Then you juice and allow the gut to take care of itself, allow the body to eliminate all the toxins, all the waste products, all the calcified, hardened waste products that's stuck in our gut to release. When we do that, we increase our level of biophoton, which is the thing that I talked about earlier that connects all of us, that connects you to living things and non-living things as well, right? But that's what I would say. To keep the answer concise, a lot more concise, is clean your gut. Solid food vacation juice feast is where I would go. If you can do it, if you're very experienced, highly experienced, water fast works as well. And if you're like kind of nervous and want to like still be with solid foods, fruit feast also works not as well, to be honest, but it also works quite well as well. The thing is, if you do the course though, it takes you through and what I call airplane in and airplane out. It takes you through a ladder of kind of like eating, where you're eating foods that give you the most for the least, right? The most benefit for the lowest level of cost or waste, because that is part of nature's law. So yeah, that's where I would start. And more than happy to work with anybody that's like really serious about getting on this.
That's huge. And I'll tell you guys, because I've actually done it. I started it, right? Like I only made it 6 days, but it changed the course.
I'm gonna need to take that only out though.
That's right. 6 days is a good feat, right? Like especially when you come from the addicted state that we're in, to be able to get through that. But again, I know that started my course. That started it. That cleanse, that really getting in and understanding how much our brain is really kind of driving our eating and all of those things. It was in that period of time that I started to understand those things and really change the lifestyle around how I was eating, right? Since that time, one of the things that we didn't get a chance to touch on a ton right now, but just, you did kind of allude a bit to just stuffing your face. A lot of times people don't understand that like our bodies are meant to break down food in a certain window of time. And normally our bodies are breaking down food constantly. and then our bodies can't go to work doing the other things that our body is supposed to be doing, right? Cleaning the liver, making sure it's rejuvenating, all those things. And so really, after my solid food vacation, really what I did was I just narrowed it down. So now I'm only eating between 12 and 8. And some people call that intermittent fasting, right? But at the end of the day, it's what your body needs to get back to a place like Kobi said. Are you listening to what your body needs? Do you understand? Are you connected to what happens when you eat a certain food? How long does it take to come out? How long does it, right? Like what is, your bloating situation, or how does your body react to the food that you're putting into it? And you getting more connected to that solid food vacation really helped me start to understand that. And now, again, continuing down the journey, right? Only eating between 12 and 8, probably going to cut it down eventually between 12 and 6. I also heard that like 6 hours is really just a good window. And then your body is used to it. And then you start to learn like, okay, well, now you're not getting fed at 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m. Think about all the times and I think back all the times that I would be eating late, right? Just because, right? Like, oh, I didn't get the meal. I got done working at 8. I'll eat at 9:30. I'll eat at 10. All right, I'll do this and I'll eat it. It's 11 o'clock at night. And your body can never really get on track to understand because you're constantly feeding it. So it's constantly breaking down food. And once we kind of separate ourselves from that, it's been one of the biggest things that I've learned in the process. So
let me ask a question. I know we're getting close to time, right? And I
got all day.
All right, I know it's how do I want to say this? Because I just want to be the voice in the room of what I hear all of these people that are going to be listening say. Some people really enjoy eating for the fun of it. Like they just enjoy like eating, right? Like I have a weird funny
our wives.
Yeah, like they just like it's just something, and I enjoy eating as well. Like I have a weird joke. I say I have a threesome every day with sugar, salt, and myself. Like it's just a nice, beautiful threesome every day, right? Like, right? And but there is just, how do you? Because sometimes I think when we talk about health journeys and eating well, there's this like, and this is probably media manipulation. There's this boring, oh my God, this is terrible feel to it. And so you're literally competing. Like I'm listening right now and I'm like, do I want to do this fast? Do I want to do this vacation? Like I'm processing right now, like just, and I'm like, this sounds like it's about to suck. And Chris told me it sucked. and like, do I really want to have to go through this suck right now? Right. You know what I mean? And I'm willing to, like, in my head, but like, that's a big thing. Like I've trained myself to do something that sucks, but a lot of people aren't there. And I'm not saying it does. I'm not, you know what I mean? I mean, there's probably points of it. Let's just keep it real. But like, as a coach, how do we get people on the fact that like, yeah, it might be tough, but like this is enjoyable. Like it's not like, oh, I'm leaving like the party life and now I'm going to go sit in solitaire, like food solitaire for a while. Like how do we bring out and make this more exciting for people? Because I think that is a factor when you talk about marketability.
Yeah. I think that's a great question. That's probably a question that relates a lot to my business more than anything. Right. Business, like my coaching, right?
Okay.
So the truth of the matter is, I don't know. I don't know how to fight society. I don't know how to fight culture. I don't know how to fight this high level of programming. I don't know how to fight this level of, you're taking the sort of like the chemicals and joy of like heroin and MDMA, and you're rolling it into highly acceptable and blessed substances that are giving us something, the closest thing a lot of people get to that type of feeling, right? Yeah. So this is where literal addicts, how do you do that? How do you do that? Myself included, by the way. And I always find it really interesting when people are like, they emphasize how much they love eating.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I hate eating. I detest eating. No, I don't. I don't. I would actually raise my hand as being one of those people. You catch me in my mom's kitchen. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it's going down, and that's another one of those things that I always say. I should say this a lot more because they'll probably free me up, right? Because people are like they'll be eating what they're eating, right? They got their lo mein here, they got a little cheesecake coming on the side of those this that and the third, and they'll see me in my and be like see me in my salad and might see like I don't know, God forbid I put like something else on there, be like wait. But you're not supposed to eat that, right? Right? It's this culture that's going on. I'm like, wait, hold up. But the rest of this is a salad, and why are you on me? Right? So there's a culture. There's a culture there. So really where what you're asking is how do you create a how do you create a counterculture, or how do you bring something new to the matrix, essentially, that's like waking people up to the fact that, oh, by the way, when we eat our species specific diet, and there is a difference between what personal mainstream personal trainers and nutritionists are telling you this is what you should eat. There's a big difference between that and our species specific diet. This is a whole different podcast altogether.
Yeah, that is.
And when we eat our species specific diet, we actually set our bodies up to be our own independent chemical factory. And what I mean by that is it can now produce all of those feel-good chemicals that you push the button to release through consumption of things that are causing you issues later. Yeah. We can actually do that. We can release serotonin, dopamine. We can release those feel-good chemicals by consistently consuming our species specific diet and going back to that. That is possible.
So hold on. Let me make sure I heard this right. Let me make sure, because I want to put this out there, because this is big. Like people that like you said it right. Like you don't have to fight the current. Can you ride it and just direct it differently, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like a dam, like it doesn't fight it. It just kind of redirects it, the energy that's flowing. So you're telling me I can, in a healthy way, instead of my Snickers bar after my lunch, I can eat my species-specific foods, and I can still get the feel good without all of the sugar and addiction and the fat that comes along with it. I can have it the right way and actually build my body up and keep giving me energy. Is that what I'm hearing?
No question. And not just that, you get triple the levels of that. Hey, listen, it's see how the thing just came to mind here. You say, how do we do this? You got to get enough people to test it.
Yeah.
That's really it. You got to get, because I can tell you so many different things.
Yeah.
But see, I've done it. And I'm coming from a place of trying to communicate. You're on the other side, you might be on the other side of the street, and I'm trying to communicate to you that it's safe to cross the street. But in your eyes, you see all these cars coming. Yeah. You're like, wait, hold up, what? But I think this is the $1 million, question right here. And I appreciate you bringing up such critical questions, because that is what's going through people's mind. And what I'll say is this. We've been told that you can't do it. You can't feel that good without consuming these foods. You can't feel that good without partaking in these activities. You can't feel that good I'm telling you that is not true. Mm. I'm telling you that is not true. And you have to test me.
Yeah.
That's good. I think that's really good.
You have to go through the rehab.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go through the rehab, because we've got to change the microbiomes in your gut. We've got to shift. It's like taking a car or machinery or whatever and switching the wiring.
Yeah.
We've spent 20, 30, 40, for some of us 70 something years, right, doing things in this way. And yes, it gets us the temporary feel good, and it really is temporary, and it's actually kind of just created in our brains, right? Yeah. We kind of just create it. Like, oh, you're eating an ice cream, you should be happy. Why? Why are you not happy when you're eating the best lobster in all of the world. Right? It's the best of all. It's like this hype behind it that's like, do I really like this? Or do I like this much because of the hype around it?
Yeah.
Or because of the conversation around it? Because now I get to take a picture of it and put it on Instagram. If I take a picture of my salad and put it on Instagram, I might get a few, oh, good for yous. Right. But if I take a picture of the best lobster in the world,
like that lady that eats the crab, you guys seen that? Like, what is her name? She just eats crab and lobster. It's so disgusting. But she literally made over $1 million last year just eating crab legs and lobster. I'm talking like it is like, and she got big long nails and she just eats it, and people consume that content like crazy. I just had to point that out. She made $1 million eating crab legs on video, just like we are, because
the culture.
Like I have no idea how. But
that is the culture.
It's the culture. It's the culture, and the culture is
now.
Yeah, do it. It's one of those AMSR or whatever it's called. Is that what it is?
No. But it does play some off of that. I have people that are on that too, where they just love the sounds of things squishing and squeaking. Yeah.
That's weird. That is weird. That's weird. But either way, like this is a solid conversation. And I think one of the things that was just running through my mind as you're looking that up to, like, is, we've gotten this dopamine, serotonin, those hits from food. And a lot of times that rewiring, you just start getting it from other places, that like your family, like the work that you do, right? Like those types of things. It's not just around this thing of food, which is just used to be able to fuel us and give us energy, right? Like it's around the other areas that you should get those dopamine and those serotonin and those feelings and those chemical emotions. We've just attached it to food so much that we have to break that attachment. So it's not like we're never going to feel happy again. It's not like we're never going to feel those things. You're just going to get them from different sources. So
and that's true. It's true fear around it. It's true fear around it. And it's like, wait, you mean I'll never have that feeling again, or never? But the truth of the matter is that no, it's like you can have that without the issues that you're having on the back end that you're not telling anybody about, right? The can't sleep, the stomach never feeling quite that great, the confidence being a little low, the low self-esteem a little bit, right? That, see, when we post that picture of us eating all that food and we get all that praise, we don't necessarily feel that good the next day. Right. So I may not be able to I can't give you the same thing. Actually, the thing is, you can. If I remember, I'm gonna tell you this story, and this is just kind of tell you this. I was in Denver in the mountains, taking a little vacation trip, and I had been on a juice feast and a fruit feast for, I think I was going on like 40 something days or so. I was kind of pushing myself a little bit. And the people that I were with was like, what? You're not gonna, what? But we're so high in the altitude. Like, what you're not gonna eat? You're not gonna do any? I'm like, well, I'm eating. Just eating fruits. Like, it's not, relax. It's all good. We were sitting at dinner. They had all ordered their food. I was having like a mango and a mango, I believe. And I was just sitting there and we were just having conversation. The sun was setting and it just came over me, just an overwhelming sense of joy. Out of nowhere, just overwhelming sense of joy, gratitude to just be right there at that time and to be with that mango, to be with these people. I swear to you, listen, whatever chemicals were being released felt fantastic. Like, felt great. And I'm just sitting there like, I just double checking myself. I'm like, did I eat something wrong? Did I did I drink something I didn't think about? No, I don't think I smoked any. No, I think I'm good. I think I'm great. I had to literally check with myself and be like, why do I feel this good? Why am I just sitting here and I feel literally this good? And the thing that we have to also keep in mind is we're talking about physique and a lot of different things, but what I haven't touched on at all is like how these little changes had impacted my mental state, sense of anxiety, sense of depression, sense of like, anxiety to a different level. If you've ever met or been with anybody where it feels like the walls are caving in on them all the time, or like they're in this space where they just can't, something just doesn't sit right. They just don't know quite what it is, but something just doesn't like always, sit right. And a lot of people will never talk about this.
Yeah.
A lot of people will never talk about this, right? But I say a lot of that comes down to what we're consuming. And we're talking about food now, but again, I want to expand that consumption to much, much more than food.
Yeah. No, that's good. I found it. As soon as I put in crab legs eating on YouTube, it came right up. Her channel is Boyle's Life or Bo's Life, BLOVESLIFE. You'll take a look at it. We got to give her a shout out. Look, Chris and I, we love entrepreneurs. She figured out a way to monopolize and monetize eating crab legs on camera. She's a multi-millionaire. All the crab she eats now is free. They send her hundreds and thousands of dollars worth of crab, and she just eats it on camera, and she's figured it out. So, you talk about monetizing it. It looks disgusting. It sounds disgusting, in my opinion. But hate the game, not the player. So,
and this is it. This is what I'm tossing out to folks. Making this, and there's some folks out there that is doing it, but making this lifestyle, making this way of doing things, making this way of living, making this culture just as attractive, right? What do? We get somebody like her eating some fruits on camera. Like, what do we do? Like, do we just get on there? I know what's his name, Shackle Bars or whatever, got that Fruit Nation situation where he just has really, really, really good looking women eating fruits. I mean, hey, listen, that might be the move. That might
be the marketing play.
Look, I'm reading a book right now.
Hey, look at these mangoes.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm reading a book right now. It's called Contagious. It's about marketing, right? Yeah. You've read this book, right? Okay,
it's on my list. It's
a really good book. Good book. And I'm just in the first chapter, but they talk about like being interesting or being like memorable and actually putting triggers around your product or service, right? And they talked about how Disney World is more interesting than Honey Nut Cheerios, but Honey Nut Cheerios is talked about more than Disney because you don't go to Disney all the time, and some people never get to go to Disney, right? Or they only go like once in a lifetime. But you eat Honey Nut Cheerios every single day because you eat breakfast every day. And so they talk about like building these triggers around it as we were kind of like thinking through like how it's like when people are doing the day-to-day, how could you build around like triggers that let them know, hey, you can do it a different kind of way, right? While still also being interesting. So like guys, you guys just got a touch of like us possibly putting together like, marketing around this stuff because I think it is important, right? Like I realize and I can admit like I have been a person that's been driven by marketing, like good marketing. And I didn't realize it. I was like, no, I make my own decisions, but I realized like I wasn't making my own decisions. People were finding things that triggered me and they just made sure the triggers are in the right place. And I did the rest, right? I rationalized it. I figured out how to get the money. I talked myself into it. And I said, well, it was a good decision. And I keep going back to it every time again. And now it's like, you can do that on the opposite side with yourself as well. It's you can control it, right? And I think that's part of this podcast of if people have been listening for a while, you're just listening in. The Perspective Podcast is about getting different perspectives so you can have control.
Right.
That's it. You got to get different information, right? Like we have a saying, like it's your side, my side, and the truth, right? And then you mix them all up and you say, okay, what am I going to do? How can I control it? Like you do not have to be a victim to this. And that's really been good for people like myself who's been on the yo-yo diet. I've been trying to lose 40 pounds for like 4 years, right? And right, because you're like, okay, I'm gonna go on this diet. Oh, I lose some weight. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And it gets so confusing that I've quit so many times and just gave up because I'm like, I don't know what to do. But it's not really about, like you said, it's not really about what to do. It's like, how are you processing? Like, how are you going through this notion? And since I've kind of instinctively been doing that, I've lost half of the 40. And now what's the next half? And Chris, you look slimmer on camera. Like, you know what I mean? And we've talked about that as well. So this is totally doable, even without all the right information, right? Like this is still totally doable, but now as you get more information, like what are you going to do about it? Like, how are you going to change it? And it's totally within your wheelhouse. So I want to always put that out there because I understand if you're struggling, I understand. I understand.
And honestly, I think it's a great way to wrap up. I know we've been chatting. It's been an awesome conversation, and for everybody that's listening, right? There's so much more of this. This is, one of the things that could be said is like education is key, right? So now that you're getting this perspective and you start to hear these things, start to dive in a bit more and reach out to Kobi. Kobi, tell everybody where they can find you, how they can reach you.
Yeah, Instagram is the best place to get in touch with me, at Cut the Noise. And the goal of everything I'm doing here is I'm more so a lifestyle designer, right? Is helping individuals design a lifestyle that they don't need a break from. And on top, and with that, we really got to look at health, wealth, truth, and freedom. Okay, health, wealth, truth, and freedom. And that part of that truth is getting this information out so people can get going. Because guys, listen, you can be all healthy and be great and whatever, but like, I want to do it with people. I want to do it with a community of individuals that are really about this. And so for me, a lot of this, it comes down to also community, right? I don't want to be around more people that are falling victim to the game. I want to be around more people that are awake to the game on all levels, right? Whether it be health, wealth, all levels. And because I've got stuff to learn, right? And I want some support from folks. And I think Terrell, the big thing that you said here is like, it's control.
Yeah.
Control. Because right now, as we sit, you think you enjoy all of these things. You think you can't do without all of these things. But guess what? Anything you can't fast controls you. Yeah. Anything that you cannot fast controls you. So how much control do you actually have? Are you sure you have that much control? Or does Popeyes have more control over you? Right? Does Popeyes have more control over you? Okay, maybe not Popeyes, but maybe that nice restaurant down the street, or again, that crab or nice lobster down the street. Do you want to live your life how you want to live your life? Or do you want to continue to be programmed and tricked and guided like a mouse in a maze, just controlled as to, something as to what you're really supposed to be doing with your life here? And I think, if we want to be fulfilled, live a life of purpose, and make the most of our time here, I think we really have to take this to a new level of seriousness. One thing I'm floating, for folks that are serious, folks that are really like want to do this is I think at some point in time, it'll be really cool to get individuals in one place, maybe at a beautiful spot, like a vacation spot or something like that, and be there for like 7 to 10 days, 7 days or so, and actually guide people through that first part of that transition. Get them the juices, get them the stuff in there. So I think that's something I'm floating out there. That might be a good fit for you, T. The more I think, or people like you who are in your position who's like, listen, I want to do some traveling, get my health right, and also come back like rejuvenated and rebooted rather than just like got all congested and wishing that you had taken a little bit more Pepto or something like that.
Listen, you really torture people. Gonna take them somewhere beautiful and be like, you only can have juice. It's like, oh Lord.
For the first 3 days, I'm gonna need a security guard. But after day 3 or 4 or 5, they're gonna be like, yep, this is it. This is it. This is the moment.
Don't call it vacation, call it a retreat, because everybody know they gotta get worked on at a retreat.
That's right. Well, awesome, gentlemen. I appreciate both of you guys, but could be great information. And again, everybody that's listening, right? You know where to find them. We are serious about giving you, just like T said, we're serious about giving you the perspective so you can take ownership of your life, take control of your life. The things that you know or you have heard don't necessarily have to be your truth or what you continue to do moving forward. It's about getting to your best life, right? Like Kobi said, the life that you design. So until next time, guys, we're going to sign off this week of the Perspective Podcast, and we'll check you guys out soon. All right, T?
Do I got one in me?
I think
Bang, bang. We got one in. I got one in.
There it is. All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week. Take care.
Appreciate you guys. Take care.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Perspective Podcast. We hope this conversation made you think a bit deeper, gain some insight, or even possibly even gain a brand new perspective. If you did enjoy it, do us a favor. Please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Music, Spotify, Anchor, or anywhere else you stream. Leave a review to help more people experience these conversations and potentially change their perspective as well. And lastly, as always, T and I want you to connect with us. So follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. You can find us just by using our names. And there we get a chance to hear your perspective. Until next time, God bless.